Topic of today is vitamins that make you smarter.
Welcome to the Restorative Longevity Podcast, where we share how to increase your quality of life while also increasing your longevity. Now let's welcome our host, Jimmy Yen, also known as the AcuSensei. Jimmy is a licensed acupuncturist, herbalist, nutritionist, and restorative longevity expert dedicated to guiding you on your journey to vibrant health and lasting wellness.
So we're going to talk about vitamins that make you smarter. So in alignment with how I do these podcasts. So this is going to be part one. This is going to be a series of vitamins that make you smarter, part one. And what is the point of this podcast? The point of this podcast is there's certain nutrients that your brain needs in order to function, in order to maintain your sanity, in order to have that acuity, to be able to think quickly, think smart, and be smart, and have great memory. Right? There's nutrients that your brain needs that your brain does not produce. So we have to get it through our diet. One of the nutrients that we're going to be talking about is a vitamin called choline. And I'm going to list out the sources of the food sources of what you can do, what you can eat in order to get more choline. Here's what they have found. Researchers have found that when you have a decrease in the amount of choline, that results in a deficiency in a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. A neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. When you have a deficiency of acetylcholine, that's when you start losing your memory, right? So people who have history of Alzheimer's, dementia, a family history of that, this is one of the reasons, not the whole reason of people getting dementia and Alzheimer's. It is one of the reasons. So this is one thing that you can do to prevent it from being a cause if you have a family history of Alzheimer's or dementia, okay? But I shared in another post that a recent research, they followed, I think it was the previous podcast, that even if you don't have a family history of Alzheimer's or dementia, if you do not live a proper lifestyle that is to help your brain, provide your brain with the right nutrients, then you can also still develop dementia, even though you have zero genetics, family history of dementia, okay? So this is what the purpose of the podcast is, to help you, things that you can do at home, without having to go to a doctor, without having to take another pill, another medication, another supplement. These are the things that you can do to attain and achieve restorative longevity. Restorative longevity is about to living longer with a higher quality of life, not just living longer, and not just higher quality of life for a short amount of time. Okay, so first thing, vitamins. Vitamins are crucial. Now, I'm not talking about supplement vitamins. I'm talking about vitamins as nutrients, vitamins and minerals your brain needs for its activity and growth and vitality. It is dependent upon vitamins and minerals, right? So although vitamins and minerals are not a direct source of energy for your brain, but they are crucial into the steps in energy production for your brain, right? So your brain's ability to produce energy, to unlock energy stored in your foods and activating it is based on these vitamins and nutrients, vitamins and minerals, okay? So when you are deficient in vitamins, your brain lacks the power to convert food, your body to convert food into energy, and for your brain to convert it into energy as well, okay? So this has been studied. Scientists and researchers have to study this. But what are some common, what is the common consequences when you do not eat the right things? When you go fast food, you eat the Dairy Queen, you eat the McDonald's, you eat even Cheesecake Factory, even when you're restaurants. There is no restaurant that is healthy for you. Eating out is not healthy for you. Now, and this is, I'm a foodie, so it pains me to say that. I love to eat, but you cannot be healthy eating out. It is impossible. I don't care what they say. They're a vegan restaurant, they're a gluten-free restaurant. You cannot be healthy eating out. It is literally impossible, okay? So if you want to be healthy, you eat at home. And if we look at history, if we look at real life examples of the blue zones are areas where people live, have lots of centenarians that live past 100 years old with high quality of life, the highest quality of life, and they live past 100 years old. They don't eat out, right? They eat together with family, but they cook a lot. They cook at home. So if you want to reverse your chronic degenerative disease, you cannot eat out, right? Now, again, I'm a foodie. I love to eat out. So it pains me to say that. But even for myself, I'm not going to jeopardize my mental health, my physical health, my emotional health by eating out all the time, okay? I eat at home more than 90% of the time. And at home, that's a whole nother story. You could be eating junk food at home as well. I'm talking about cooking, okay? Let's come back to this. So there's several neurological diseases that are made worse when you have vitamin deficiencies. Let me give you an example. A lack of vitamin B1, it's also called thiamine. It can result in polyneuropathy, nerve damage. You get, the tingling and tingling pins and needles, numbness in your hands and feet. It could be, it's not the only cause, it could be due to a deficiency in vitamin B1, aka thiamine. And it's something called the Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, right? A brain disorder that can evolve into dementia. And that's because you don't have enough vitamin B1. Now, what happens if you have a low vitamin B6 and B12? This also can lead to dementia, losing your brain, okay? So this is about vitamins that make you smarter. These will make you smarter. They prevent you from losing your brain, right? So a deficiency in B6 and B12 can lead to dementia, losing your brain, becoming dumber, losing your memory, okay? A vitamin deficiency in B9, which is also called folate, can cause neural defects of the fetus. That's why, if you're pregnant, you want to make sure you're eating some folate, right? Not popping pills of folate, eating folate. Vegetables have lots of folate. Because if you don't, your baby may develop neural tube defects, which leads to cognitive dysfunctions later in life. So if you want your baby to be born smart, make sure you're getting these B vitamins. You can see all the ones I'm talking about are B. A lot of B vitamins affect your nervous system. And why do you want to care about that? Because your central nervous system, which is your CPU of your body, is your brain, your spinal cord, right? The development of your brain and spinal cord for your fetus, for your baby, B vitamins. Lots of B vitamins, right? Yes, there's a lot of B vitamins also in animal protein. We'll get to that. All right, so all vitamins come from foods we eat. So it's what you eat. So if you're eating the wrong foods, you're not going to get the vitamins, right? Most vitamins cannot be manufactured in our brain. So vitamins cannot be manufactured in our brain. We have to get it from our food. Can you see why what you put in your mouth is so important to your brain health, right? So when you eat fresh, because here's the thing, when you eat fresh vegetables and fruits, the vitamins are released and they travel up to your brain. And that's where because this is where, remember, the brain has something called a blood-brain barrier. It prevents it prevents a lot of things from going to your brain. So it protects your brain. But one thing it definitely does not prevent from going to your brain is vitamins. It needs it, right? So there's a channel that your brain has, specifically like a secret pathway for vegetables and fruits, the vitamins from it, okay? Now, what vitamins do we need? Well, vitamins are broken down to categorized to two main categories: fat soluble and water soluble. The fat soluble are vitamin A, D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. These are fat soluble. What's the difference? Fat soluble vitamins can be stored in your fat. That's the difference. Water soluble vitamins cannot be stored. Okay, so let me repeat that. Fat soluble vitamins can be stored in your fat or other bodily tissues. So they don't need to be constantly replaced, because you can have a reserve of these fat soluble vitamins, which are A, D, E, and K, right? So these are the ones you don't want to overdose on. especially if you're popping supplements, right? You don't want to overdose on these because these can be stored in your fat cells, okay, and other body tissues. Vitamin A and vitamin E, these are two fat-soluble vitamins. They also have antioxidant functions. So they protect your brain cells and tissues from free radicals. Okay, so vitamin A, vitamin E. We know vitamin A because it's a precursor to beta carotene, good for your eyes, right? Like eating carrots and so forth. They also have an antioxidant effect that prevent damage to your brain cells from free radicals. Vitamin E increases the delivery and absorption of oxygen into your brain. Oxygen is the number one nutrient your brain needs to function. Okay, without oxygen, your brain dies. Vitamin E helps increase the delivery and absorption of oxygen. Okay, so fat soluble and vitamins are super important. Now, what are water soluble? Those are all other vitamins are water soluble. So only A, D, E, and K are fat soluble. And only these can be stored. All other vitamins are water soluble, which means they cannot be stored in your body. They cannot be stored in your fat cells. So you need to constantly replenish them every single day. Because if you don't use them, you lose them. You pee them out, okay? So essential for brain function, which vitamins are essential for brain function? Vitamin C, B12, B6, and B9, folate, right? And choline. So vitamin C, B12, B6, B9, choline, right? Now, what's the advantage of water soluble vitamins? What do they provide that fat soluble, not necessarily provide? Water soluble vitamins are kind of known as the go-getters. They make things happen, right? They facilitate our neurotransmitter, the production of our neurotransmitters, right? And sometimes even become parts of the neurotransmitters. So they're super important. They're like the worker bees. They make things happen. They go out and make things happen, okay? So like the beginning of this podcast, I was going to talk about choline, right? The Borrowed Artist Studio, can you get enough vitamin E from diet? Absolutely. You can get this is a myth. This is a great question, the Borrowed Artist Studio. So yes, here's what a lot of holistic natural practitioners, especially functional medicine practitioners, are spreading this message, is that the soil, the nutrients in our soil these days is different from the soil 50 years ago. That is 100% accurate. The soil, the nutrients in our soil today is not as nutrient dense as the soil 50 years ago. Absolutely true. So the nutrients in our food are not the same as nutrients of our food 50 years ago. Absolutely correct, right? But that does not mean we cannot get all of our vitamins and minerals from our food. That is the misconception. And because when the people that are just saying, hey, you can't get all the nutrients and vitamins and minerals from your food, they're trying to sell you supplements. Okay, not all of them, but I know the game. Okay, I've been in the coaching programs. I know I'm in the business. I know the game. And so to say that you have to take supplements because you're not going to get enough of that from your food, in my opinion, everybody's opinion is entitled to their own opinion. In my opinion, that is false. You can absolutely get all of your vitamins and nutrients through your food. Now you have to eat the right food. If you eat the wrong food, of course you're not going to get it. Then you need supplements, right? But if you eat the right foods, absolutely you can get it. So great question, the Borrowed Artist Studio. All right, let's talk about choline. So the choline is the main thing that I want to talk about, the main vitamin that I want to talk about. Choline. What is super important about choline? Choline, your brain needs the vitamin, it's a B vitamin, choline, to produce a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. What are neurotransmitters? Neurotransmitters are messengers. Remember, your brain, your nerve cells, your brain cells, they don't touch each other, right? They communicate with each other through little messages, like I love you messages, right? And these messages float in between. So this is called a synapse. The nerve cells, they don't touch each other. They're like this. There's a gap, synaptic junction. That's what it's called. So in order to communicate with each other, they send messages that float from one end of a nerve to another end. Those messages are called neurotransmitters. You can just call them I love you letters, right? So they send these I love you letters from nerve cell to nerve cell. That's called neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are super important for your whole body, for your brain to be working, your central nervous system to be working. One of the very important neurotransmitters is called acetylcholine, which is produced by choline, a B vitamin that you need, that you have to eat. If you don't eat it, you ain't producing it. Okay? So what does acetylcholine do? It is crucial for your memory. Acetylcholine is responsible for your memory, your learning, okay, how you learn. You know, when people say, oh man, I'm getting older, I just can't think as quick as I used to. I can't remember things as I used to, right? Could be a deficiency in acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter, which could be a deficiency in choline. So to fix it, you just eat more foods with choline, right? So because if you don't have enough choline, your body doesn't produce enough acetylcholine, of course you're going to lose your memory. And of course you're not going to learn as fast. So it's a myth that as we get older, we have to learn slower. No, it's a myth, okay? The people in the blue zone, the 100-year-old people in the blue zones, they're learning just as fast as a 40-year-old, as a 30-year-old, okay? Acetylcholine is also responsible for arousal and reward, to wake you up, make you motivated, right? And reward center. It makes you want it motivated to do things to get rewards, right? Memory, learning, arousal, and reward, right? So that's what acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter, is in charge of. And we need it. It is manufactured with choline, right? So Alzheimer's is associated with a deficiency in acetylcholine, this neurotransmitter. How do I know that? Well, because there's many research that's done, but also you look at the medication, right? Medication, for people who treat Alzheimer's, who have Alzheimer's, they probably take this medication called Arousal. It's also called the Nepazole. I don't know how to pronounce that. Arousal. It's a medication that people use, neurologists will use to treat Alzheimer's. What does that medication do? It's aimed at improving the action of acetylcholine. So it's focused on acetylcholine, making acetylcholine more available, right? So scientists know that, and that's why they made a medication for that. Now, choline is an essential nutrient, which means your brain can't produce it, right? It is not able to produce it by itself, okay? And remember, choline is water soluble, so you can't store it. So not only does your brain not produce it, it can't store it. So what does that mean? That means, number one, it can't produce it. It's an essential vitamin. So that means we need to eat it. Your brain, your body needs to get it from food because it can't produce it by itself. So that's number one. Number two, it's water soluble. Water soluble means it can't store it. So that means we need to eat it every single day. If you don't input choline into your body, you are not producing acetylcholine every day. And that will affect your memory, your ability to learn new things, arousal, reward. Okay, you got ED, arousal, libido, arousal, okay, acetylcholine. Okay, so it's common sense. The production of acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter, is entirely directly related to how much choline that you give your brain every single day. Now, here is your brain doesn't produce acetylcholine. Okay. Your brain doesn't produce choline. However, about approximately 10% of the total amount of choline circulating in the body is produced by our liver. 10% of the total amount of choline is produced by the liver. 90% we have to get through our diet, right? So 10% can be produced by your liver. Now I'm going to tie this to Chinese medicine. I'm a licensed acupuncturist, herbalist. I'm a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. 3,000 years ago, they found out that the liver helps regulate the mood and emotions. What is acetylcholine? What did I just say acetylcholine does? Acetylcholine affects your memory, your learning, arousal, your mood, reward, mood, right? Acetylcholine affects your mood. 3,000 years ago, they found out that your liver has a function of regulating your mood. And now science is finally catching up. So, for those of y'all who follow me on social media and all the other channels, and you see my shorts, my reels, and so forth, and you hear me talking about this organ does this function, and then you see comments from other Western medicine practitioners, physicians that say, oh no, it doesn't. Or you see other people, just the public just say, oh no, the liver, for example, the lungs don't control the skin. Or they say the liver doesn't control your mood. The liver is a detox organ. How does it control your mood? It doesn't regulate your mood. So I don't know how they found out 3,000 years ago that the liver regulates your mood. I have no idea. Super smart people back then, right? And now we have become dumb because we only depend upon what does research say. If research does not prove it to be correct, then it is false, right? For me, I don't think that way, because research is still behind. Research is still behind. Now they know that the liver produces choline, which is a building block of acetylcholine, which helps regulate your mood. See, now they're finally to find that correlation. But I just thought that was super interesting. Okay, so we know we need choline. So what are the best sources? So those of y'all who love eggs, you're gonna love this, right? Eggs are one of the richest source of choline. Eggs, and actually right now, as I'm talking in 2025, January 2025, doing this podcast, there is a shortage of eggs. There is a whole big salmonella bacteria. Something's going on. Something's going on with the food industry, right? I don't know what it is, but there's a shortage of eggs. It's hard to find, especially organic eggs, right? So if you have chickens, if you are able to raise chickens, that's the best. You can raise chickens, that's the best. But why are eggs? Eggs are super rich in choline. So remember that time back, I forgot, maybe in the 60s when they're saying that eggs were bad for you because it raised your cholesterol? That, number one, now they're finding out that it is false, right? Eggs are a superfood. You need them. And especially if you want to get smarter, you need eggs. Eggs are rich, one of the richest foods in choline, which will make you smarter, which helps you produce more acetylcholine, right? And that's just another example of, but here's the thing, I'm a biochemist, so I love research. And even though I talk crap about research, I love research. I'm a research person. But when you base everything, your whole life decision, and you tell people your whole life decision on research, and say, if it's proven through research, I'm telling you, research is not 100% accurate. Eggs are an example. How come 30 years ago, research showed that eggs raise your bad cholesterol, and eggs will cause cardiovascular problems? Research back then proved that it was true. But now, 30 years later, the research proves that the previous research was wrong. I'm just telling you, take research with a grain of salt. You have to use, common sense. You also have to look at who is doing the research, who is benefiting from that research. It's always just follow the money trail, right? Again, I love research, and I still look at research. but I also have a skeptical eye. No, being a biochemist, being part of the research, when I did a certain step incorrectly, it yielded a different result. Or if I intentionally manipulated parts of the research, I could get a result that I wanted, but it was not the truth, right? And so just take it with a grain of salt, do your due diligence. Don't just trust anybody and everybody, okay? So, sorry about that. Let's come back to this. Choline, so eggs. If you eat 5 eggs, a 5-egg omelet, that quadruples your choline levels in a few hours. Okay, diet and choline. Again, if you lack choline, your memory is gonna get affected. And research shows 90% of Americans are deficient in choline. So other choline-rich foods, what can you eat? Fish eggs, caviar, and most fish have a lot of choline. Organ meat. Here's another one. Another myth. Organ meat, talking about liver, kidney, brain, heart, right? So again, another one. Research before that says if you eat organ meat, it raises your bad cholesterol. Well, it depends on, that's true and false. It depends on how you're eating those organ meats, right? I love organ meats. Shiitake mushrooms, wheat germ, quinoa, peanuts, almonds, these all are rich in choline, right? So let me give you actually, I'm gonna give you the requirements of choline you need every single day. So an adult woman needs 425 milligrams of choline per day. Men need 550 milligrams of choline per day. What does that equate to in food? So a woman needs 425 milligrams of choline per day. She would have to eat 22 grapefruits, or 3 pounds of broccoli, or half a chicken, or 3 eggs. 3 eggs can give a woman 425 milligrams of choline per day. You see why eggs are a superfood, right? Let's go to men. Men need 550 milligrams of choline per day. That means they would need to eat 27 grapefruits per day, or 4 pounds of broccoli per day, or 2 pounds of chicken per day, or just 4 eggs, right? You see how eggs are a superfood? So let me give you some other foods, right? So raw beef liver. Raw beef liver, 5 ounces of raw beef liver gives you 473 milligrams of choline. 473, that's enough. 5 ounces of raw beef liver gives a woman all the choline they need in one day, right? Codfish, half a pound of codfish. Let me give you it in ounces. 3 ounces of Atlantic cod gives you 72 milligrams of choline per day. Half a fillet of cooked salmon gives you 161 milligrams of choline per day. So a woman would only need to eat, actually an adult would only need to eat half a fillet, so 1.5 fillet. If you ate 2 fillets of salmon, 2 fillets of salmon per day, right? A fillet for lunch, a fillet for dinner, you will have, that's 4 times 161. That's more than, that's over, let's see, let me do the calculator. That's 4 times 161. That's 644 milligrams of choline. You just eat 2 fillets of salmon, you get all the choline you need for the day, right? So now here's the thing, here's a caution. Some of y'all may be thinking, oh, then I'm just gonna eat a lot of animal protein, right? Because beef does have a lot of choline as well. Beef, 3 ounces of beef, 3-ounce steak has 116 milligrams of choline. This is why, people on the carnivore diet, the paleo diet, the animal protein diet, the caveman diet, and so forth. This is why initially they feel, man, my memory is great. I feel smarter, I feel more alert. This is why, because beef, animal protein, has a lot of choline in it. And so it helps them produce acetylcholine every day. So they're eating lots of beef, steaks every single day, chicken, and they're producing a lot of acetylcholine, which is improving their memory, improving their ability to think. That's why they feel better in the first few months. But the problem with the carnivore diet is it's inflammatory. So eventually you're helping it build acetylcholine, but you're also increasing inflammation throughout your body. And eventually the inflammation is going to attack your brain, which means if you keep on doing a high animal protein diet, you're eventually going to, you start feeling smarter, and then you're going to start feeling dumber again. You start losing your memory. You're going to feel drowsy, lethargic, tired, and so forth. Okay. So here's a caution. Choline is good, but excess is also not good. So I like to use this analogy. In Chinese, that it says water can float the boat, but it can also sink the boat. So too much of a good thing is harmful as well. Same with choline. So if you take more than 3,500 milligrams of choline per day, it actually becomes toxic to your brain. Now, it is very difficult to eat over 3,500 milligrams of choline per day. It's very difficult to eat to that toxic level. And this is very cautionary. You have to pay attention right here. That's why it's super important that you watch the supplements you're taking. People take pills like crazy these days. They substitute one pill for another. They substitute a medication for a so-called natural pill. It ain't natural. Most of the supplements are still synthetic. So synthetic, you could be taking synthetic choline, not even knowing it, in your multivitamin and your other vitamins, all these different types of, vitamins, right? And you could you could be creating toxicity without even knowing it, because you're taking the vitamins and then you eat choline-rich foods. Eating by yourself, it's almost impossible to be toxic, because you would need 3,500, right? Even if you ate, let's say 3-ounce steak, let's say you ate 6-ounce steak 3 times a day. 6-ounce steak, which means that's 116 times 2 times 3. That's only, even if you ate 6-ounce steak 3 times a day, you would only be getting about 700 milligrams of choline. That's nowhere near the 3,500 milligrams of choline that will create toxicity. But hey, you take those multivitamins, guess what? You take that multivitamin, guess what? You just increase your choline even more. Heather, hopefully I answered that question for you about what foods. Coming back to the foods, right? You'll notice fish have a lot of choline. And if you've paid attention to my previous podcast, you would have heard me that there is, especially the best diet. The best diet is the Mediterranean diet, a version of the Mediterranean diet. All of the blue zones, the people who live over 100 of highest quality of life, eat a version of the Mediterranean diet. Mediterranean diet is based off of fish. Why do you think they're smarter? They're above 100, but their brain's still super active, probably smarter than 40-year-olds, because they eat a lot of foods that are choline based, right? Let's see. Animal intestine, yep. Appreciate it. Awesome, thank you guys. Yeah, so, I'll just leave it with this. Thank you for watching. And those of you who haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Get your family and friends to subscribe, because this is the stuff that people aren't talking about, right? This is the stuff the things that you can do for you and your family to live a longer and healthier life, right? As you get older, you can get better, right? Have a higher quality of life. So I'll just leave it at this, right? Choline-rich foods, shiitake mushroom, vegetables, quinoa, 1 cup of quinoa, right? 1 cup of quinoa. So if you are sensitive to grains, you can't eat grains, it irritates your stomach. That's a whole nother story, but you can substitute with quinoa seeds. Quinoa, 1 cup, will give you 119 grams of choline. 119 grams of choline, just 1 cup of quinoa. right? You add 1 cup of quinoa. So for your lunch, you could do 1 cup of quinoa, it's 119 grams. You put 2 eggs in it, right? Let me just add this up for you so you can you can eat a super healthy meal and have tons of choline. So 2 eggs, that will give you 391 grams of choline. So women need 425, men need 550, right? So let's add some fish, right? Salmon, I'm gonna add half a fillet of salmon, that's 161 of choline. Half a fillet, just half a fillet. That's 552. 552. So let me just go back to what I just said. 1 cup of quinoa seeds, right? You put that with 2 eggs and half a fillet of salmon. You have just met your protein intake, but more importantly, you've met your choline intake for the day. Just that one meal, you supplied all the choline your brain needs to produce acetylcholine, which, remember, acetylcholine is in charge of your memory. So if you're losing your memory, you need to bump up the choline, right? It helps your memory, your learning, your ability to learn new things, your arousal, right? Your mood, your reward, your mood, acetylcholine. Your libido, acetylcholine, right? So we'll go back and rewatch this video again, this podcast, so you get those foods. We're gonna move on to new vitamins and minerals next time, but I wanted to take this step by step so everybody can learn, okay, and understand. Instead of just throwing you tons of information and you're like, get confused, right? I'm going step by step. So hopefully you enjoy this. I appreciate you for watching every Sunday. I'll see you next time. Next week, Sunday, same time, same channel, right? 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, Sundays, right? See you there. Peace.
This episode is sponsored by Achieve Integrative Health, the #1 acupuncture clinic in the US. We're grateful for their support in helping us bring you the Restorative Longevity podcast.